It's Friday, March 6th, 2020, and this is episode 20 of Film Cult Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Chris, and this week, as in every week, I will be talking about 3 different movies that I saw recently. I'm going to give a review on each one, talk about each one of them for a little bit, and that is the format of the show. As always, thank you for joining me. If this is your first time or you're coming back for another episode, I appreciate it either way. Something that we talked about last week in episode 19 was 3 documentary films. We went over Programming the Nation, Super Size Me, and The Wolf Pack. 3 very decent, overall good documentaries. So that was a nice little departure from just talking about regular movies that, come out in theaters and such, to talk about some documentaries. But this week, I actually am reviewing our first title of 2020 of this year. I am talking about still wrapping up from the previous year, 2019, with another film. After that, I feel like I've seen a vast majority of films that came out in 2019, especially the ones that received any awards buzz. So that's cool for me. And then we will finish it off with a sort of cult classic movie. I guess I can list them all now because I'm talking about them generally. So first, I will be talking about, like I said, 2020's The Invisible Man, the movie starring Elizabeth Moss that just came out. I saw it a week ago today. I record these a day early, so it's Thursday. But Lee Winnell of Saw fame, kind of known for being a good horror writer at this point, also directed this film. I will get into that. And I will talk a bit about my experience at the movies last week, because it's just a very mixed batch of previews and things that are coming our way, and some surprises, some curveballs, I guess, thrown in. And then I will be talking about the 2000 American neo-noir psychological thriller film directed by Chris Nolan, which is Memento. We'll talk a lot about that movie and how amazingly written it is. Anyway, and then the third movie I'm talking about is from 2019, and that is the J. Roach film Bombshell. Excuse me. So, those are the 3 movies. There's cars driving by my window. Just the one more thing that I needed to mention. This is available on Spotify and YouTube, and this is my last episode for a while. I'm taking a break from doing this every single week. I've been doing it for 20 weeks straight, if you can't tell by the uploads. And I just decided to kind of lay back from it for a while, take a break from it. Not going to be like a long-term thing, just I will eventually come back to doing this because I do enjoy doing it. And even if nobody is listening to this on YouTube or Spotify, it's something that I do enjoy doing. I just more or less need to not focus on doing this and focus on other priorities in my life and get other shit together. So without any other announcements and whatnot, I will get right into the films, and we will go into the movie theater for The Invisible Man 2020. So this, like I mentioned before, is written, directed by Lee Winnell, who is known for pioneering the Saw trilogy, and didn't really have any expectation for this film going in. I just decided that I wanted to go to the movies. That is out at the moment sounds good. I don't want to see Sonic. I don't want to see The Call of the Wild. Like, I don't, all these kind of like either kids movies or like kind of lame movies are out right now. So this was the only one that was like, yeah, I guess I will go see that. And I went to my sleepy little movie theater and got to see it on opening night, to like a pretty low turnout. But like I said, my movie theater is just very quiet in general. So anyway, the batch of previews that came with this is something I wanted to talk about because it just seemed like a lot of crap movies are coming our way. The first one that I definitely is just schlock film is Bloodshot, which I believe is coming out within the next few weeks, starring Vin Diesel. Comic book adaptation of the same name. I guess a different comic book brand that isn't Marvel or DC. Valiant Comics is trying to have their own cinematic universe, so this is like the start of that. So this movie, other than using a very good Johnny Cash song in their marketing, all of it, and it's still in my head, so that's like a testament to this movie's preview. Yeah, this looks kind of shitty. I'm really not a Vin Diesel fan. um, but you know, his career will go on after 16 Fast and Furious movies, or however many do come out. Because he can pretty much, he's kind of like The Rock, he can pretty much fit in anywhere, as a action star. So yeah, I was just going to mention some previews that I saw. The next movie was Free Guy, starring Ryan Reynolds. He plays an NPC in a video game, a bank teller, and then he decides to break the rules of his universe and become a video game character, I guess. I don't know. This movie looks really corny and stupid. I remember reading somewhere there's like, it sounds like something somebody on Reddit would write as a movie plot, and now it's like getting made. And this looked like kind of like the shit that Ryan Reynolds does. I remember reading somewhere that he was making like a stoner Home Alone movie. Home Alone movie. uh, um, I don't even know exactly what that means, but yeah, like being high and alone, I guess, and you being paranoid that someone's like breaking into his house. I believe that was like the plot. I don't. That doesn't even sound real, but apparently it was. This movie doesn't even sound real, and it's coming out fairly soon, I think. It's for the summer, so it's in July. So yeah, this is definitely a summer movie, I guess. It doesn't look that good, and I'm not interested in going to see it. But I just wanted to again mention this weird batch of previews before I saw The Invisible Man. Spiral, from the Book of Saw, is another horror film. Yeah, so another. This was directed by somebody other than Lee Winnell, but is based on Saw by James Wan and Lee Winnell. And this is, I guess, kind of a prequel, I'd assume, or a just another installment into the Saw franchise. It's kind of crazy that this is the ninth movie pertaining to Saw, but this isn't like a direct sequel, hence the subtitle there, from the Book of Saw. But yeah, this movie has Chris Rock, Sam Jackson in it, Samuel L. Jackson, Max Minghella. Yeah, it doesn't really scream Saw in the beginning of this trailer, and you see Chris Rock and Samuel L. Jackson, and it kind of seems just like a buddy cop movie almost. Well, maybe not buddy cop movie, but like a cop drama kind of thing. And then it starts going south, and you kind of see and you kind of see that it's like a horror movie as well. And so that kind of looks sort of interesting. I'm not really a Saw fan, anything like that, but I figured whenever that comes out in May, may go see that. But definitely not like totally piquing my interest. And then the final one that I could think of, it's been a week ago, but I remember seeing a trailer for the reboot of a horror film, and that is Candyman, which is a spiritual sequel to the 1992 horror film Candyman, which I actually tried watching way back in October. I was going to do an episode on Candyman, the original 1992 version, obviously, and I remember watching the whole film, being kind of underwhelmed, and deciding to just talk about something else. I was watching a lot of horror movies then, kind of building up for Halloween time, I guess. But yeah, that one just didn't strike me as a film to make a review on, I guess, at the time. And I'll give this trailer credit, though. At least it looks like it's doing a good job of modernizing the story. So basically that's it. And while I'm talking about modernizing stories, we will actually talk about the film, the first film of today, um, and that is The Invisible Man, directed by Lee Manel. I know I introduced it like 3 times now, but now we are actually talking about this film. So yeah, at the movies, seeing this film, Elizabeth Moss stars in this film. Oliver Jackson Cohen, who you might recognize from Haunting of Hill House, I believe. He plays. It's been a very long time for me to see that show, but he plays Luke in that show. Is in this film. Harriet Dyer, Aldous Hodge, and Storm Reed are people in this film. Like I said, no expectation going in. Was pleasantly surprised. I do like a lot of things about this movie. Um, it really takes a very subtle approach to horror, and I appreciate that. There's a lot of build up here before things really start going in the direction that they go. I believe that this is a extension of the monster universe that Universal was trying to pull off, I believe, or whatever film studio that this is from. They were going to make a whole set of monster movies, starting with The Mummy that came out, but that flopped, so this kind of like ruined the whole shared universe idea of having the Invisible Man, The Mummy, Dracula, all those classic horror movie monsters, Frankenstein. They were all going to be in a connected, shared universe, but because of the absolute trash that was The Mummy, the new one starring Tom Cruise, they decided to scrap that idea, and so now these movies are still being made, but they have their own plot lines. They're not connected anyhow. So anyway, with all that being said, I think this movie is really good. Okay, maybe not really good, but really, really average to the point where it is enjoyable. Like I said about Candyman, this movie, or the Candyman trailer, this movie also does a good job of modernizing a tale that's been around for like a really long time. This is originally based off of the H.G. Wells book, which must have came out at the turn of the century, maybe a little bit after. Don't know. I know it's great to see that I did my research here, but I'm just kind of riffing off. But yeah, there's some really cool camera work in this movie, really cool effects. Of course, you can do a lot when you have an invisible character, and so they do kind of explore different realms of how to expose him, or even pan the camera pretending like there is someone there when there's no character on set, there's no invisible character even shown. Like, it's just the hinting, the suspense and the dread that maybe he could be over there, we can't see him because he's invisible. The opening credits are kind of like in a beach above some waves, and the waves are crashing, and only when the water crashes over the text is the font shown. Only when the water's, it's kind of hard to explain without showing, but it's cool. It's kind of like the font's invisible. Really cool, just like a neat little tie-in that I, from my perspective, just thought was really cool. Yeah, this movie, I would definitely give it a shot if you were trying to figure out something new to watch and were kind of underwhelmed like I was about all the selections that are out. I do recommend this one. When I was seeing it in theaters again last week, the movie was just getting to the third act, I'd say, right around like the climactic point of like of the film, and the people in front of me who during every single trailer was like, oh, I want to see that, and I was just like, I don't in my head, and this girl, and I presume her mom, they just started yawning through this like almost climactic scene. I don't want to give away any plot points of this movie, but she just started yawning multiple times, I guess giving her mom the hint that like she didn't want to be there anymore, and then they just got up and left. And this is seriously the climactic point of the movie. She is like a minor spoiler here, but I feel like you can maybe see where this movie is going at some points if you've seen any trailers. But she's in a mental hospital, mental facility, and the Invisible Man is still after her, and he is basically in her cell, and that's all I'll say about that. But it's building up to the scene, and then they just left. And I was just like, how can you not know like the conclusion of this movie? Like, it wasn't boring. It was paced particularly well, and easy enough to follow. Like, I couldn't believe that they just up and left at literally with like 30 to 40 minutes left of this film. But anyway, I digress from that. I would give this my recommendation. The Invisible Man, pretty good, solid choice for something that came out in late February, March. So, my second film of today's picks, we are going back to 2000 for the Christopher Nolan film, psychological thriller Memento. I also made the poster for this one, so if you're on YouTube, that is my original creation. Just want to throw that out there. Anyway, this film has a lot going on. It's one of those that you do need to pay absolute close attention to, and maybe watch it 2 or 3 times to really get a solid understanding of what's going on, because it's easy to get lost in the narrative, and it's easy to get lost with Guy Pearce, and that's intentional because his character has short-term memory loss. And the whole synopsis here is that Guy Pearce, he plays someone who after an accident cannot remember anything after approximately 15 minutes. So he is basically always leaving notes for himself, always leaving clues to find out who raped and killed his girlfriend before his accident. So that's like the basic setup of his character. It's really hard to explain the plot of this movie. Definitely don't want to spoil it, because I would also recommend this one for sure. Things remind me of Inception in this movie, and all of kind of Christopher Nolan's movies kind of have to deal with time and kind of the idea of memories. And well, it's not like Inception at all. This movie is much more grounded in reality, whereas Inception has that whole device of going into somebody's dreams. But all of Christopher Nolan's movies have a lot of rewatchability in that fact that like you do need to see it multiple times to get different parts and to see different things and to kind of watch things from a second viewing perspective or third viewing perspective to kind of get. This is definitely not the first time I've watched this, probably 3 or 4, like I said, and I still pick up different things each time, and it's definitely a movie that is, I don't know where I was going with that, but it's very thought-provoking and interesting, whether or not you're fully understanding what's going on. So Christopher Nolan has a good film direction and a good style for this type of movie, which also reminds me of another film of his coming out soon that was in that trailer preview before The Invisible Man, and that is Tenet, which also has to do with time travel. I don't know why I said also. This movie doesn't have to do with time travel, but it has to do with remembering things and memories and past events. So I guess it just like this whole theme of time is still going on for Nolan. And this film does look very good. It's probably one of the only ones that I was like, yeah, I'll definitely go see that one comes out. Also coming out in July of 2020. And I was just reminded that film was also there because of this one by Nolan. But yeah, I recommend this film. Totally enjoyed it, watching it again, and I will go see Tenet as well when that comes out. So, yeah, maybe we'll start this show back up in the summer. Maybe before then, who knows? I'm definitely not going to stop watching movies, obviously. Something I really do enjoy, but just doing this whole episodic thing has been a really good experience so far, but just like I said. So, anyway, we will move on to my third and final film for today, and that is the 2019 film directed by Jay Roach, starring Charlize Theron, Nicole Kidman, Margot Robbie, John Lithgow, Allison Janney, and Malcolm McDowell, and that is Bombshell. This film is pretty good. I've had this on my list of things to watch for a while. I've had this movie in my movies folder. Kind of just been passing it here and there. Just didn't find the right time to sit down, but I finally did. And yeah, this was pretty good. Pretty much what I was expecting from this movie. Jay Roach, if you don't know, is the director of Trumbo, which starred Bryan Cranston. Came out a few years ago, 2015. He was the director of Austin Powers, International Man of Mystery. Did not know that. I think some has some correlation to The Big Short, which was another film with a lot of big actors like this one. Talking about the housing real estate crisis of 2009, I believe. Don't believe anything I say. It sounds like I'm just making shit up, but I think somebody has something to do with this movie as well. Anyway, this film is about Roger Ailes and Megyn Kelly and the Fox News sexual harassment scandal that dropped, I believe, in 2016, 17, something like that. Saw this movie a little while ago. But it's very good. It's very good. Very cool to see John Lithgow transform into this evil Roger Ailes character, this disgusting man, because you really cannot recognize him with the makeup and, you know, special stuff that they do to add weight onto his face and age and stuff. But you can hear Lithgow in the voice, of course, but it's very hard to pick him out of Roger Ailes in this movie, which is cool. Yeah, definitely good, serious take on a lot of what's been going on in the Me Too movement that has been happening, and a good serious look at times. Not saying that this film has comedic moments, of course, and Kate McKinnon from SNL is also in this film, with good little comic relief character. Yeah, if you know that story, if you followed those headlines back a few years ago, this is a good cinematic depiction of it, I believe. One point they are talking about Margot Robbie's character and Kate McKinnon's character, I think, are talking about people they know who watch Fox News so often that the logo is burnt into the screen, and they actually do pop up the Fox News logo like in the movie, and it has like a fake burned in effect of the pixels. And I thought just like that's really like funny comedic thing, and like I don't know, it just struck me as a really good joke that they even executed kind of momentarily. It didn't stay there for long, but it was just like a good gag, and just like a good way to tell the story. And very similar notes to that Apple TV show that I watched recently, The Morning Show, which is more or less based off the Today Show, Matt Lauer scandal that also happened very recently, within the last 3-4 years, I guess. And yeah, that kind of plays a more fictional tale to it. They don't follow the story with the actual people like this movie does, but that television show is more of an episodic format, obviously, and this is a feature film. But I digress. This film is pretty good, and I would give it my recommendation. So that is 3 recommended films after 3 recommended films last week. So that's pretty good um, for that. So basically, there was only one other thing I wanted to talk about. One more trailer to talk about, I guess I should say. Just because this is something that in the news just kind of broke and it really surprised me. Out of all those films that I mentioned today, all the mixed um, things of action movies, psychological thrillers, Christopher Nolan films, and um, weird Ryan Reynolds films, there was the Bond trailer for the final Craig Bond movie, No Time to Die. Uh, I've been watching the Craig films since they first came out with Casino Royale in 2006. Um, I've seen a lot of them in theaters. Um, I do enjoy the James Bond character, and I was surprised to learn that after just seeing that trailer last week, which the movie was expected to come out in April, the film has been delayed. This just learned this last night. The film's been delayed till November, which is a crazy long delay. It's one thing to like save this for like the summertime, like a lot of these July releases that are coming out, maybe make it a summer hit, but like they delayed the film all the way till November. So like that's just a very surprising thing with like weeks to go before this movie was released. So I'll be interested to see what people have to say about that. And yeah, it was just basically something I wanted to mention because I was rewatching the Bond films again. I was maybe going to make a video or something on that. I've so far rewatched Casino Royale again. It's been years since I watched that. I watched Quantum of Solace again. It's been a very long time since I've seen either of those, and I was gonna continue, of course, with Skyfall and Spectre, but I was gearing it up for that release of the newest one, and I guess the time is going to be off. But yeah, I just thought that was very, very interesting and worth mentioning as a movie news kind of thing. So, yeah, that has been my reviews for today. That has been the conclusion of episode 20. I appreciate you guys sticking around this far if you have. As always, feel free to message me, give me film recommendations, give me a critique of the show, whatever it may be, at filmcultpodcast@gmail.com. It's at the bottom of the screen right now. Yeah, feel free to reach out. This has been, for now, Film Cult Podcast. So, again, I appreciate you listening. And if you liked anything you heard, please feel free to comment, like, and subscribe. So, that pretty much does it for me. Have a fantastic weekend. Hope you have an enjoyable time, and I will see you in the foreseeable future. Take care.